OK, so still on all the newses, across all the front pages today. Yesterday, serial killer nurse Lucy Letby was given a whole life term with no chance of parole for the murder of 7 babies and the attempted murder of 6 others. In court, it was revealed that when Letby was initially removed from her role in the neonatal ward, her former colleagues asked for CCTV to be installed on the unit when it was rumoured that Letby might be returning. So that's what's come out particularly today, Frankie. Is it something that you think going forward would be a good idea, that had there have been CCTV cameras in that unit, that what Letby was doing might have been picked up far sooner than it was?
Yeah, I think there's a few school of thoughts on it. I think that maybe she might not have done it in the first place because she would have known someone could see
deterrent,
it. Yeah, a deterrent. But also I was discussing this with my friends yesterday, and quite a few of them had babies in the NICU, and they said it's really horrible to read because you have to put so much trust in those people that they're going to look after this new baby, you know, that's your life, and you have to, it's hard enough for you to have to go home and leave them there in the care of someone else anyway. So since this story coming out, they all said they would absolutely prefer it if there was some sort of camera there so that they knew that they were being watched and people knew that they were safe. And I agree. I think, obviously, you step into territory with
privacy
and things like that. But I think definitely with babies, why not? I think if it makes families feel more comfortable and I think it's also not in this case, but if someone had have just made a mistake and didn't do something on purpose, you could really quickly clear that situation up by watching the CCTV
Yeah, well, I know,
back.
and a lot of hospital staff now, Gloria, are permitted to wear body cams for their own safety and protection, aren't they? Because, you know, we have a lot of assaults and things in hospital. So already the idea of CCTV being introduced into hospitals, several hospitals do have it. It's actually up to each individual NHS trust what they do and how much CCTV they have. Could you see that working?
I think everything that Frankie said is absolutely correct. I don't see it working in maternity wards or in adult wards, and some wards are mixed these days as well. I don't see that cameras there because I think that would be an invasion of privacy. And from my own point of view, if I was in one of those wards, I certainly wouldn't want to be seen in my nightie and all the things that you have to do in those circumstances. But let's be honest about it. And I want to say up front, I cannot get my head round how awful this case is. I mean, I watched it on the news late last night, and I'll be honest, I hardly slept thinking about it and thinking of the parents. And if the parents are watching today, either the parents who don't have their little babies anymore, or the ones who have to face what this nurse did, another case will be coming up now for the other 6. And it's just such an enormous case that I can't get my head around it because, in general, you know, I'm generalising here, by the way, you know, men, as such, are more or less regarded as being protective and everything, and women are regarded as being carers or nurturing. And it seems odd when you suddenly find any woman who murders, because I know there are exceptions, but it's just not the way we think of women. And so I could not think of this nurse who is a girl and who has done X number of years training to be in the hospital looking after the baby. So to go back to your original point, I think the baby unit is one of the most vulnerable in the hospital. And I think that some form of camera evidence would have helped along the way. Wouldn't be the total answer, I don't think, because I think she would have found different ways. But on the other hand, it would be a help towards the investigation.
Yeah, I mean, we're reading some of the family victim statements, Brenda, and one very powerful one, which they've used on the front of the Mail today, said, "Those lives were not yours to take. There's no forgiving, not now, not ever." Can understand that feeling from those parents. Looking at the CCTV idea going forward, particularly for maternity units or neonatal units, do you think that that is something that you think
Yeah, I mean, what Frankie said and what Gloria said, I totally agree with both sides with the CCTV. It can help innocent till proven guilty. I'm still in shock that it's taken all that time after all of those warnings for something to have been done about it by the members of the board or the executives or whoever. It's not just this person that's responsible, it's those people that ignored the warnings in the first place. And I think considering it's almost 7 years later and this has come to court, I think CCTV footage is probably not been brought to court sooner because you have to gather the facts. If you have CCTV footage, you can get those facts very, very much quicker to help with the anguish of those parents for 7 years of not knowing or getting any answers, any answers about what has happened to their child.
Yeah. You see, I was just going to, on the back of that, and I agree, every word you say is true, but what I can't get my head around as well is that I watched a doctor being interviewed on television last night and they were trying to call him a hero and he said, I can't call myself a hero. But he said, I had to report what I believed was correct at the time. Now, I'm not slamming all the people who are in charge of all hospitals over the country. I'm not. But I'm afraid I've got to go back to the administration, to the person at the top who technically run the hospitals these days. And I just think, why couldn't they listen? And I heard somebody again on the radio talking about the reputation of the hospital. Maybe this administrator didn't act because didn't want the reputation of the hospital to be in focus. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And you were talking about, I just want to read one statement that I took out of this thing today. This dad said that his daughter was born prematurely. And he said, I prayed to God to save her. And he saved her, but the devil got her because he said, and I'm going forward now to the other cases, to the other 6 babies who didn't die. They weren't murdered as such, but they were damaged. This child is now brain damaged, registered blind, fed through a tube. And he just said it has ruined their lives completely.
I mean,
the babies, of course.
Yeah, the word, you know, I hope God will save her, the devil got there. There's some very biblical language. People are using the word evil a lot. Do you believe, Brenda, that Lucy Letby was born evil?
I don't believe people are born evil. I think your surroundings and your atmosphere has a really big... It's a big player into how you are. How, you know, if you were abused, there've been reports and facts showing if you were abused as a child, then you might well grow up to become an abuser yourself.
She came from, she's an only child of, it seems to be very loving parents, very devoted parents.
Well, sometimes you could say that she was maybe over-smothered and so she felt really claustrophobic and so that was her... You know, I can't even begin to get into that brain to explain or even try to. I don't even want to think about what's going on in her brain.
That's the thing, Frankie, I think it's so horrific, such a heinous crime, so almost unbelievable that a young woman, a nurse looking after babies, could do such a thing. It's almost like we need somehow we try to process it and go, there must be a reason, there must be something that's happened to her or...
I think we do that
disorder.
with everything, don't we?
Yeah.
Everything horrendous, we want to find a reason. And I think with this one, unfortunately, we probably never will. And that's hard for everyone, but also you've just got to think of the families in the situation. And
well, absolutely. And, you know, our heartfelt thoughts to those families who lost babies, to families whose babies were harmed. I mean, what a terrible, terrible time. And having to sit through that, you know, 9-10 month trial. Our love to all of you. Definitely.